A little while ago, we created the Weird Tactics series. From that came a bunch of tactics that were quite frankly disgusting. One of those was the wide 6 tactic, which was different variations of playing 6 players out wide. So today we take a really good club and see if we can actually get sustained success playing a wide 6. Right then, first of all, the tactics we're going to use. We've got a choice of 2. We've got this one, which I've kind of called Wide Lanta because I'm using it on my Twitch save with Atalanta. And we've got the wide 6, which is probably even more extreme. We're going to build from one of the two, and as you can see, he might be a little bit exposed in the middle. Here's how it looks in match though, to help us out in those situations. So this is for my Atalanta save. I'm doing this over on Twitch. You can come and join us there. We stream a couple of times a week. Now, as you can see, I've got 2 players highlighted there, Ruggeri and Rafael Toloi. Now those are my 2 inverted wing backs. So when we attack, they leave their fullback positions, as you can see, and they slot into central midfield alongside the central midfielder. So in effect, we have our 3 central midfielders and we still have our guys out wide. So when we're going forward, we're pretty much covered. So I've got a bit more confidence in this tactic than some of the other weird tactics. I know when we go forward, these 2 will sit in there like that. So we are pretty solid. Obviously, a quick counter-attack might cost us over the top, but hopefully we can dominate games with Benfica, build a squad that should mean that we don't get caught in the break too much. I don't normally start this high up, so it's nice to see a team as strong this squad as Benfica do have. So when we have a quick look at the squad and we quick pick it, we can see the squad as it lays out. It looks pretty strong, but I want to pay attention to the fullback positions. At the minute, my assistant recommends 2 traditional style fullbacks. Cabore, who is on loan from Man City, very traditional style fullback, and Alvaro Fernandez. However, this is where we put our stamp on things and make it a bit more effective. So bear in mind that most of the time when we're dominating matches, these 2 fullbacks are going to be playing in midfield. So we're going to have midfielders playing as fullbacks.
What's happening? Huh?
And it just so happens we have the perfect example of this in Frederic Orsnes. Now's the time to hit me in the comments if I've butchered his name. From now on, we're going to call him Freddy. But anyway, as you can see from his positions, this guy can play pretty much anywhere, especially central midfield and the fullback positions. He is an absolute dream for what we're about to do. So we have a couple of options for left back. We can either retrain one of our central midfield, such as Florentino Luis, or even, which might be a bit extreme, our boy Orkan, who can play a few positions, but I see him playing in central midfield because he's a good orchestrating playmaker. So we can either retrain Florentino Luis to play in there, or we go into the transfer market. But in first seasons, I like to give the players currently at the club a chance, and we have got a very, very good squad. And it's packed with prospects for the future as well, such as Andreas Schneiderup. Karim Artakoglu is going to play the other side. He wants to play that side, but he can play any of the 3 positions. And we're well stacked with wingers such as Alexander Ba and FM favourite Antonio Silva at centre-back. So we're pretty stacked. So stacked that in pre-season I only brought 1 player in. Rafael Guerreiro will play as the inverted wing back. He's absolutely ideal. As you can see, he can play any position higher up, central midfield and full back. Perfect. And the only player I let go was Angel Di Maria. He might have been good for a season, but he was already out for 2-3 months and Saudi took him. So for season 1, we're lining up something like this. We've got a great keeper in Trubin. Our defence is pretty solid, and I'm really excited about the 2 inverted wing backs who will act as midfielders in attack. And hit the ground running we did in the first game of the season. We went away to Arausa and beat them 6-1. What was nice to see was the team adapting to the tactic pretty much straight away. As you can see, Guerreiro gets the ball here in his traditional left-back slot, but as the play progresses and we move higher up the pitch, he drifts into the centre. There he is in central midfield, and he's the one who plays the key pass, the pre-assist if you like, for one of the goals. Lovely stuff. We followed that up with another 6-goal win at home, and I allowed myself to get a little bit excited when Inter Milan in the Champions League came to Benfica, and we absolutely battered them. So signs were very good. In fact, the start of the season was pretty sublime, as you can see. You probably noticed a couple of defeats to Aston Villa. I hate that club. I mean, look at that. But in January, we were top of the league ahead of Porto. The only game we lost was away at Sporting. But those defeats to Aston Villa did cost us as we got knocked out of the Champions League, so the board weren't particularly pleased with that. We beat Porto 1-0, as you can see, only 34% possession. Now, if I take you to the average positions, if you're wondering how to get there, follow the cursor. We go down to analytical data, up to teams, and it's all down here. Select your team, in this case Benfica. Down to average positions, we're going to select the starting 11 only, and then we've got these 3 to play with. So with the ball, we look a bit like this, and as you saw in match, the wing backs are number 8 and number 19. They come into central midfield to play alongside the playmaker. Without the ball, It looks a bit cluttered as they're trying to get back into shape. Our overall position looks a bit like that. We do get the back four back into shape. Now, we did get a bit exposed in the Europa League by Roma. We went out of that competition 7-4 in aggregate, so although we have a decent team, we do need to raise it up a bit. But in the league, we were flying, and with 2 games to go, we were still on top of the league, 2 points clear of Porto, having only lost the 3 matches.
I can see it, I feel it.
And when the pressure is on, they stormed to an 8-1 win. And in the last game of the season, to win the title, we only went and won 7-1. So season 1 was a success with the wide 6, winning the title with 85 points. And we scored a bucket load of goals with 110 for the campaign. The big surprise for me was this man Pavlidis, who scored 33 times and 25 in the league. But if you look at the squad overall, there was goals all over the place, and more importantly, assists coming from absolutely everywhere, including those 2 inverted fullbacks. So you've got to say season 1 was a success. We can win using the wide 6 tactic. I did bring in one more player in the January transfer window, another loan signing in Cristiano Baraggi, who's just a perfect natural left footer with that crossing ability. He's getting on a bit though, so we probably won't make that move permanent. So going into season 2, trying to get sustained success, remember, we're going to need someone to play out wide, and we're probably going to need someone to play an inverted wing back as well, because Guerrero was only on loan from Bayern Munich and their asking price is ridiculous. Otamendi's going as well, which I'm not too mad at because he is on the downslope, and everybody else will be starting. So that's what we've got to work with. What I have been doing though is I've started to retrain Florentino Luis as a wing back. He's too good a player to not be playing. We can move our boy Frederick to left back. We can put Florentino Luis at right back, and they can both back up our boy Orkan in the middle, when in effect we have 3 midfielders playing.
Here we go again.
Season 2 pre-season brought a load of transfers out from fringe players. And some interesting players in. To replace Otamendi, we got Diakabi in from Valencia. He only cost 17 million. I think he's a huge upgrade. And to play on the left-hand side, pretty much anywhere from Atletico Madrid was Samuel Lino, 20 million. To compete for centre-back was Diego Carlos from arch-rivals Aston Villa, just for 3 million. Competing for up front was Dominic Solanke for 11 million. And the loan signing to cover loads of positions was Carlos Soler in from PSG. All that meant the team looked a bit like this. Soler is so versatile, he can even play as that right wing back, so we've got good options there now, but the team is definitely stronger than last season. Let's see how they do. Now this season, goals were flowing in. I think the 2 inverted wing backs were upgrades, so Soler was playing out there, he was playing really well. An 8-0 win here against Chavez. And look at the match stats, 34-17, it's just complete domination. But more exciting was our upturn in Champions League form. There's loads of games now because it's a change of format and we were winning matches. But this is the most impressive yet, away to Dortmund, and we got the big win. But without doubt the most impressive yet was this win against Chelsea. By the end of January, we were still undefeated. Unfortunately for us, as were Porto. Our status was rising and I was able to bring in Ryan Gravenberch on loan to back up. And the club had totally bought into the wide 6 philosophy, and the chemistry between the players was elite. We were steamrolling the league and I thought we were going to go unbeaten. We've got 1 defeat all season and it was messy. So we took down the league title with only 1 defeat. The boys have completely bought into wide 6. Another fantastic season, in fact the best yet, with 109 goals and we only conceded 19. However, it was the only domestic trophy as Porto knocked us out of the cup. And also in Europe, despite our domestic dominance, Arsenal were just too strong for us and battered us 5-1 at the Emirates. In the return leg, we were better at 2-2, but we got the Champions League at the round of 16 stage 3-7. So at this point, we have got our sustained domestic dominance, 2 back-to-back titles. I really would like a cup as well, though. I think the Champions League is probably going to be a step too far for a tactic like that. We're going to give it another season, though. You never know. You can see Soler there playing DLP because our boy Orkan, where's he at? Here he is. Got battered. He's been out with cruciate ligaments. He's missed most of the season. That did lead to Florentino Luis playing in there, and he did pretty well. Built up great chemistry down the right. There's great chemistry down the left. It works really well when you get the good players in there. I think the key is midfielders in at fullback. Now, unfortunately for us, Soler, who has been fantastic by the way, the buyout clause from him from PSG was 40 million. We can't quite afford him. And while Florentino Luis has adapted to his new position, he hasn't been absolutely fantastic, so potentially we need someone more used to playing in there. But the famous FM wonder kid Andreas stepped up this season and banged in 25 goals, so he has arrived. And as you can see from the squad's overall performance, pretty much everyone is performing really well. So going into Season 3, I wanted to maintain the success with the wide 6 tactic, and we brought in some key players. A cheeky hat-trick there from new signing Raspadori. He can play anywhere across the front, and at 20 million I thought he was a bit of a snip. Hopes were high when we got a 0-0 draw away at Liverpool in the Champions League. For that match I started off with this formation with a strikerless, and then I changed halfway through back to the original, but instead of having it an advanced forward, we dropped into a false 9. That's a good option to help out the central midfield if you're getting overrun. I did lose a loads of players through release clauses like Truban to Saudi, but my replacement game was very strong. And I think I've solved that right back slot for inverted wing back with Julian Timber coming in from Arsenal for 20 million. He's ideally suited. I built our strongest squad yet, as you can see from the team. We've got great players out wide and we've got quality as backup. I've got Samadzik who came in on a free transfer, an absolute brute of a player with long shots, and backing up Silva and Diakabi was Mancini in from Roma.
He's cooking.
You could see the upgrade when we were winning games in the Champions League away at Bayer Leverkusen and a really dominating game against AC Milan at home. Honestly, we were dominating the season until this in the 4th minute against Bayern at home saw Silva get sent off, and with a tactic like ours with 10 men, we got exposed. That was our first defeat of the season, and it was January. The league campaign has been elite, but I guess the litmus test for this tactic was the Champions League, and yet again, it was Arsenal. But this time, much better. Away at the Emirates, it wasn't 5. It was a tight loss this time, only 3-2. That late goal was huge from Diakabi from a corner. And the improvement in the club was solidified in the return leg when this mistake from Saka led to Pavlidis scoring. He scored again to put us through. So the season as a whole was absolutely balmy. Really good. We have lost our first match of the season, which is annoying because I was eyeing up an invincible season. But in April, we are on track for our 3rd back-to-back title, playing 6 players wide. Who'd have funked it? We did have a couple of other versions here, but I've never delved into them. I've never needed to use that one. And this one here is the one where we use sometimes in away from home against Champions League teams. But most of the time, it's been this. If I need more players to help out in central midfield, I drop the attacker to a false 9, and that helps out a little bit. But as you can see, the chemistry's there. It's been fantastic. We got dumped out the League Cup, but we do have a chance of our first domestic cup. I'm gutted to say that in the Champions League we've drew Man City. So taking on Man City, playing 6 players out wide, was pretty daunting. But it does show how far we've came with this team as we took the lead against City. And it was tight all the way through, and they only took the lead late on through former Benfica player Bernardo Silva. First leg, a tight 2-1 defeat. And in the second leg, Raspadori gave us a hell of a chance. But unfortunately it wasn't enough as Oscar Bob had already scored. But we were still highly competitive, only getting knocked out 3-2. The title had been sealed again though with only 2 defeats, so that's 3 back-to-back titles with the wide 6. But we did achieve more domestic success and finally got a cup. So overall, pretty successful. We are dominating Portuguese football. Obviously being Benfica helps, but the fact we've progressed so well in the Champions League does show that it can be done with a tactic as balmy with this if you get the right players involved.